Howdy, folks. Welcome to another edition of Archeryshack Shoptalk. I'm Jeremy.
I'm TJ.
This is podcast number 70. 70 weeks of listening to us rednecks talk about pretty much nothing.
Oh, Lord.
But you're still here, so
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about y'all. Hope y'all had a good Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Getting here at the New Year's and all that good stuff. So I guess I'm looking forward to 3D season because all the indoor stuff kind of fell off the map.
Yep. And it sucks because normally about this time, we're pretty much finalizing all our plans for the ATA show.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, this is going to be a different. I'm hoping after this year, everything starts at least getting 75% back to normal.
yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. If you're new here, I'm Jeremy. This is TJ.
Yep.
We come on here every week, chat about random stuff archery related. Y'all have some folks send in some questions and that sort of thing. So click the subscribe button. Check us out. We do bow reviews and live feeds and podcasts and whatever we can come up with. So
Yep.
our shop's here in Anderson, South Carolina. Check us out on Facebook and all that. And if we can do anything for you, just give us a call. 864-735-8484. Okay, I got a list of questions here.
Uh-oh.
Is there a trick to unwrinkle veins? There is. Let me sit up a little bit. About done fell out of my seat.
That's what I had to do.
You can take a hair dryer, and now he didn't say what kind of veins, but like this used to be what we did on big 4-inch veins because you had room for them to get wavy. But you can take a hair dryer. Now don't like burn them off of there, but slowly heat them up with a hair dryer, and usually them things will just straighten back up pretty good. But I don't know. Most 2-inch veins don't really do that because they're pretty stiff and they're small.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what you're talking about when you say unwrinkle. But yeah, just heat them up a little bit. And then on the same topic, like if a feather gets ruffled, I guess is the way to put it, you can usually just take like that one little piece of it and pluck it out. Does anybody out there shoot feathers? Because we do
Yeah.
a good bit. I end up shooting a bare shaft because TJ shoots all my feathers off if we're shooting together. But
Oh, man. I know that was coming.
anyway, I didn't get out of my thing here.
I know that was coming.
I want to buy a 2 to 3 year old used bow, bare bow only. I have a $500 budget. What would y'all recommend? Let me think for a minute.
$500 budget on a 2 to 3 year old bow.
I'm gonna throw out a couple.
See if you're thinking what I'm thinking.
Well, like there's a bunch of options, but like I would. We sell prime, and so I'm gonna mention a prime. But at this point in time, you can if you look now. They're going to be a little over 5, but I guarantee you can find one for 5. But you could find either a CT series or maybe a black series for about 5, and that would be a good option. In the Matthews stuff, you could probably find a Tri-X, definitely a Halon 32.
That's what I was going to say was the Halon series.
For $500.
Yeah.
In the Hoyts, I'm just gonna throw out a few brands and throw a few. In the Hoyts, you could probably find an RX1 for 5. If this is not like you're gonna find a bunch of them, but I'm just saying if you look around a little bit.
Probably the Redworks. Hoyt.
The Bowtex.
The Realms.
Yeah, you probably find a Realm.
BTX 31 probably.
Yeah.
Which I think at BTX 31's a little bit older.
I think in general, the easiest thing / best that's out there you're going to find is going to be a Matthews Halon 32 or Tri-X, because just across the board, Matthews is one of the most, if not the most popular bow in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just guessing that's where you live at. And so there's a ton of people that'll buy Matthews and upgrade every year or
Yep.
every 2 years or whatever. So just me browsing around on Facebook sites and Archery Talk and eBay and all that, Matthews, I see a lot of them just because people are upgrading. So
Yeah. That was, gonna be my first thing. Matthews, you'd be looking in the Halon series. Like you said, Prime, you can probably get in. I mean, you could probably get into the original Logic.
I know you could probably do Logic, CT3, CT5, maybe a Black Series if somebody's hurting for money. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of the Black ones go for a pretty low price
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook, and people were upgrading to a Nexus.
Yeah.
But they were a smidgen over 5, what I seen. But it won't be long, you'll start seeing them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, any of those would be good. But if you just need a one answer thing, I'd look at like a Matthews Tri-X.
Yep.
Do you guys have any feedback on the Cool Hand Luke string stops? We do. They work great. You can get the rubber in different colors. You just tell him what bow you got and what color. But the problem is, I actually read something about this earlier. At this current moment in time when I'm recording this, nobody seems to be able to find the guy.
Yeah.
There was a thread I read earlier today on Facebook of people were having to contact PayPal and their credit card company because they've sent him money back in October and still hadn't received anything. And pretty much, from what I read, from October to now, nobody's heard from the guy. So I don't know what has happened. So just a quick whatever. He's in a wheelchair. He had an accident, several years ago, and this sort of thing. Works at a machine shop and makes these very nice string stops that are like $25-$30. But I think he just kept getting overwhelmed with them,
Yeah.
because so many people were ordering them. So they work great, but right now nobody can find the guy and hadn't for about 2 months. So I don't know what to say. I know when we ordered ours a year or two ago, you just texted him and he'd text right back, and it was a pretty simple process. So I feel like he probably should have just started like a website
Yeah.
to keep, because it was always kind of, I mean, it's only $25, but it was kind of, you got to text him and then PayPal him and then hope you get your stuff. But anyway, so I don't know right at this current time, and I'm hoping this changes because he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put in no kind of order for one right now because nobody can find him. So
Yeah.
second to that is the high-tech string stops, and they can actually put like a silicone or a sand in there to absorb more vibration, and we've ordered some of those, and they work pretty much as good as the Cool Hand Luke. I think the thing with Cool Hand Luke, because it's just a metal bar,
Yeah.
but he puts the Bojack's dampener on it, and it's a super soft rubber, and I think that super soft rubber versus I'm just talking for prime bows, but the prime bows have a harder string stop rubber, and it's got a hole in the middle that is like a drum, and
It's hollow.
I think it makes racket. But anyway, so great string stops if you can find them. But as a second option, look up high-tech string stops, and they make them for about any bow. If I'm not mistaken, they have an eBay store now with a drop-down box, and you just click, Bowtech, Realm, or whatever you got, and you get it. And I think they're about $40. Let's see here. Are brass speed knocks or Pine Ridge speed sleeves faster? Brass speed knocks are, just because they're heavier, and most, except for Elite, some of the Elites came with the speed sleeve,
Mm-hmm.
but most everybody else is just using brass knocks. So especially on the Hoyts and Matthews that are newer, where they've got like 30 or 40 brass knocks on them from the factory, I would stick with that.
Yeah.
If it's an Elite that came from the factory with the sleeves, I'd stick with that. And if it's an older bow, you can go either way. And
Yep.
what I tell people about that is, and when older, I mean probably 3-4 plus years old after that, the sleeves do speed your bow up, and they do take out some vibration because they're rubber,
Mm-hmm.
but the brass is going to be a little quicker. by probably, just according to the bow, 2-3 feet per second on average. So it's up to you. And you can get the sleeves in different colors and all that. So some people get into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
How do I tweak my valley by twisting or untwisting my cables? So here's what happens overall. When you twist your cable, you add poundage, and it does a couple other things. It lengthens your draw length a little bit. So like if a guy just needs an 1/8 or a 1/4 inch of draw, that's kind of how you do it. You play with the strings and cables a little bit, and vice versa. You untwist it, and it's going to do the opposite. So usually what I'll do is if a guy says, I'd rather have a harder dump over, is what I call it, coming into the wall, or I guess a little bit better valley, is I will twist the cable a little bit. Some bows you can't tell a whole lot of difference on. Some bows you can tell a lot of difference on. So it's one of those you just got to play. But, according to your bow, you're going to have to retime everything and all that. So just know that going into it. But
yeah,
that's the gist of it. But, I mean, we've had bows like we needed just a smidgen more draw length out of. And, you might get an extra 2 pounds or something. I mean, you could get more than that, but, and get that draw length out there, a 1/8 or a 1/4. Let's see here. What is the lightest peep sight made? Let me look here. We got something going on here. The lightest peep sight made that I know of is, I don't even know if they still make it, the octane carbon peep.
Yeah. I don't think they still make it.
We got, I wonder if they left it.
Uh-oh.
UPS just came and hit our ring thing. I wonder if somebody got the box. Yep, it's at the front door. Okay. I see something was going crazy on my phone. But anyway, sorry I got sidetracked. The Octane made I think it was just a car. It was super lightweight. Like, I actually need to see if they still make it, because it was one of my favorites. Because if you want to get into not losing losing speed, that would be the way to go. And I had ordered a big batch of them about 4 years ago and sold them. I don't think they were but a couple more dollars than the regular one back then, but I guess they still make it. I never had any trouble out of them, as far as I know. They were just super lightweight, and you could get them in the same sizes and all that stuff. So, but and I think a lot of speed people, if you're into that sort of thing, don't think about stuff like that. I mean, you could probably save 3 to 5 feet per second by not having a heavy peep, So that might be something to look into.
It looks like they still make them.
Okay. Let's see here. Coming from their cam, that is a tricky question, because according to what bow you got, but it could be two things. One, you could just have somebody knock the axle out, put a little lithium grease on the axle, put it back in, and that could fix it. Or you could have a bad bearing in the cam. I've seen that 2 or 3 times. And usually that's like I could almost feel it in the grip, but it's like just a continuous click as you come to full draw.
Yeah.
Click, from static to full draw. So.
And another thing it could be is, now we've seen this before, but your bow, depending on what bow it is or whatnot, if something is just in the cam, if it's a binary and it's pointed.
Yeah, it needs shim pretty much.
It needs shim. It can cause the control cables to pop out of the track or pop in the track.
Or they'll be trying to not go in the track.
Yeah.
And it'll force it into the track, and it'll click in real hard. So
yeah.
I didn't think about that either. Let's see. What is a good practice regimen?
That's something we don't do anymore.
I would always say practice further than this is for 3D tournament or hunting.
Hunting.
Practice a lot further than you ever plan to shoot, because if I'm only going to shoot a deer out to say 40 yards, but if I practice at 60 or 80 or whatever, my confidence at 40 is way better than if I'm just practicing at 20, 30, 40,
Yeah.
And I was talking on the other week or on something or another about when I was really shooting some indoor, it's just at 20 yards, but I'd back up to 25 and just keep practicing, especially like the week before the tournament. And then you get to the tournament and be at 20 and it feels like it's a piece of cake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But as far as, everybody's different. Like, shooting every day is a big thing, even if it's a dozen arrows or 50 or 30 or whatever your number is, that's a big thing if you can. Because, like, what can happen is, and then we see this a lot, a guy will come in and be like, man, my bow was sighted in, everything was fine, and then I picked it up, I'm shooting left or I'm shooting right or whatever. Well, how long has it been since you shot? Oh, it's been a couple months. You'll just pretty much forget your grip you're doing, and you'll do something finicky. I had a guy here the other day do that. He's like, man, this thing's shooting to the right. And the more we kind of talked about his form and stuff, well, then he starts shooting left, then he's back right, and I'm like, this is a grip problem. He's just hadn't shot enough and hadn't picked his bow up in 6 months and thinks something's moved, but everything looks legit. His muscle memory for that bow is gone.
And don't if you're going to start shooting, don't try not to shoot 50 or 100 arrows a day, something like that. I mean,
yeah, there's a point where you shoot too much. And that's not good. But yeah, like
20 arrows, starting, just like 10, 15 arrows a day, is a good starting average. After that, if you haven't been shooting a whole lot, you are definitely going to notice that your arm, your shoulder, everything's going to break down on you. And then, as you start shooting, increase. So they go from 10, say, okay, well, I'm going to 15, and then go to 20, 25, something like that.
Yeah.
But
or you shoot
till you get tired.
I'll shoot 20 arrows during the weekday, according to what your work schedule is, and then maybe on Saturday, Sunday you can beef it up a little bit, or shoot 2 different times or whatever. But yeah, and you'll really build up your shoulders doing it that way, because like you say, if you shoot 20 a day and then slowly go to 30, 50, whatever you end up shooting.
Yeah.
What hurts me is we don't hardly shoot field anymore, but you go to a field shoot and have to shoot like 128 times and you ain't used to it, you're going to be hurting.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be hurting. So,
well, it's just, life kicks in. We got kids now, and, well, we don't get to shoot our bows a whole lot anymore.
That's the truth. But yeah, it's going to be different for everybody. The main thing is to, maybe make few shots, but make them good shots. I was saying another week too, you may need to, for a week, just get 10 yards from the target, not even worry about aiming, worry about your anchor points and all that sort of thing. And then, it could change week to week. But if I get in sometimes if I shoot a lot of paper, I'll get to where I want to hold low sometimes, and it's a mental thing. Pretty much that's it. So I'll get like 5 or 10 yards from the target, and in my head I'm like, okay, we're close, and I'll aim in the middle. But at 20 or whatever, I won't aim in the middle, but I'll just go shoot at 10 yards for a week and get my mental stuff fixed, and then back up. And when I back up, I'll be like, it's the same thing. You're just a couple yards back. And for some reason, for me, that just clicks. But yeah, if you get to shooting too much, you could get some target panic or whatever.
Yeah.
You could, that's when you get like a bad form thing going on, and then it just keeps getting worse. But, but yeah, just shoot a few arrows every night, and make it fun. You know what I mean? That's the big thing. Don't make it to where you start hating it.
Yeah.
That's not good. Somebody asked, what is the best limb dampener? again, that's kind of according to the bow, because like certain bows have a lot wider limb, but overall, look into Limb Saver.
Yeah.
They make all sorts of different products, and that's probably my favorite. Bojacks make some nice stuff.
Pine Ridge makes some.
Yeah, Pine Ridge, lots of different companies, but
Yeah.
I'd start with Limb Saver if they have something that'll fit your bow.
Yeah.
They probably do. I mean, because they make wide, narrow, old school stick-ons for a solid limb. Just all sorts of stuff. Let's see.
I remember that's all we sold back in the day when a solid limb was those stick-on ones.
I got to get out. Speaking of that, just sort of the same topic but different. Limb Savers came out. Same thing with the Whisker Biscuit. I got to get out of this habit because it always bites me. And I was like, them limb savers, ain't no way I'd stick that on my limb. That's got to be affecting stuff, blah, 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 blah. And a year later, I was proved wrong. You know, like we sold hundreds and hundreds of packs of Limb Savers because back then, you know, the limbs were a lot longer, and they really made an impact on the kick. You know, those limbs. And the Whisker Biscuit came out. Man, I wouldn't. A year later, we sell hundreds, if not thousands, of them. So I got to get off of like seeing new stuff and being like, and then a year later being like, okay, even the limb-driven rest. First time I seen it, I'm like, I don't want no cord going to my limb. What if you cut it? What if this? What if that? And now it turns out it is the way to go for, you know, that's what we're shooting. So I need to quit being that way. But it's just, we've done this so long now. You see some of this new stuff and they're kind of like, and then it turns out to be something great. So it is what it is. I don't know.
I guess we just stuck in our ways on some stuff.
I guess, I don't know. You never know what's going to take off and what is not. And I guess there's so much stuff that don't. We kind of get in that.
That's like the nose button.
Yeah. I wasn't as bad with the nose button because back in the day I would tie me a nose button on. And I can't believe somebody didn't make one like that before now. Yeah. And I've wondered if other companies will now, I don't know what kind of patent or whatever they got on it, but will other companies start making something similar now? Yeah. Maybe. But,
what else did we think was a bad idea that took off?
There's probably a million different things, but that's some of the big ones. I mean, going way back, you know, even when the solo cam bow, came out, you know, a lot of people were like, what in the world? And it took a couple of years, and then people were like, well, this is pretty neat. It's not as finicky and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then we got hung in solo cam mode. Yep. And then pretty much, you know, what happened is to get the speed out of a bow, they had to go back to a binary or 2-cam type system. And we were kind of at the time like, no. We've been brainwashed by the solo cams for the last 10, 15 years. And now it's just, I'd say in archery, every 3 or 4 years it's kind of like computers. You know, there's a major something every 3 or 4 years. Yeah. So, I mean, and granted, I mean, they still make plenty of solo cams and all that, you know, single cam bows. But I still think it's funny when somebody calls, what bow you got?
A solo cam.
Because it says Matthews solo cam on the limb. We're like, no, what model? A solo cam.
I am surprised Matthews has not did a throwback on a solo cam or something.
They should do it in old school tree bark camo like they used to have. And ultimately, because in the past 10 years, that Z7 Extreme was a hugely popular bow. Yep. Do something similar to that maybe. Yeah. And do a throwback, and I think it would, I mean, I definitely don't want them to do like kind of like PSE and start renaming bows. Yeah. But, you know, maybe for this one event, call it something similar to what what the old ones were called. But anyway, that's all the questions I got. If y'all got questions and or something you want us to talk about, you feel free to just put them in the comments. Yep. And we'll see them, and we'll go from there. But like I say, happy Merry Christmas from last week, and Happy New Year and all that. We'll be back to our normal schedule here coming up, and we'll go from there. But we appreciate y'all watching. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. We do a couple videos a week. We do a podcast. We just kind of ramble on. We do a live feed on Thursday nights usually, and have a lot of folks on there talking and asking questions. And then we kind of been off lately because all the stuff, but a lot of times on Sunday we'll put out a video and it'll either be a review or a restringing or something of that nature. So
Yep.
check it all out. We got a Facebook group called Friends of the Archery Shack. Check it out. And we'll see y'all next time. This is podcast 70. So we've done these for 70 weeks in a row. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And
It really is.
seems like we just started it.
Yep.
But anyway, thank y'all for listening, watching. We'll see y'all next week.
See y'all.